How's it going everyone? Chris here with another Battlefield 3 jet loadout. If you've been watching this series so far, you'll know that the last loadout I posted, the jet fighter, was an air superiority setup for rookie pilots using high-tech pieces of equipment like IR flares and the heat seekers. And even though I find that it's the veteran players of Battlefield 3, those level 100 colonels, that tend to spam the heat seekers with beam scanning, I said that I'd post a setup that's more for veteran pilots who want to prove their skills by not using any sort of cheap equipment. So today's loadout is named Dogfighter, with inspiration being taken from the aces of World War I and World War II. Back then these pilots had to fight like real men with their propeller powered aircraft and their manually fired machine guns. So this loadout is going to help set up your jet in Battlefield 3 as a classic dogfighter, and will use skill and agility to take down the enemy, which makes the difficulty for this one as veteran, meaning it's a class for all you ace pilots out there. So yeah, again, this is an air-to-air jet loadout for air superiority, but this time we're using non-high-tech equipment unlike that jet fighter loadout. Since we're not using flares or the ECM jammer, instead we're going to evade enemy fire with aerial maneuvers. And this class is going to be the best way to test your skills and prove yourself against those heat seeker noobs or those level 100 colonels that are constantly getting lock-ons with their beam scanning and heat seeker combos. So let's get started and take a look at the setup for this dogfighter loadout. For the upgrade we're going to go with maintenance. Back in the days of World War I and World War II, those aircraft were powered by internal combustion engines like that V12 Rolls-Royce Merlin engine that powered the Spitfire. This meant that the pilots didn't have the leisure of various high-tech computer systems that would highlight problems with the aircraft like we do with modern-day jet fighters. So to keep the aircraft running, they'd need a team of engineers to maintain the aircraft and make sure that piston engine's running smoothly. So in Battlefield 3 for the first upgrade we'll go with maintenance to relate to this, and the benefit it provides in game is that it speeds up your vehicle's recovery after damage, which is going to be really handy because we're not going to be using any countermeasures against enemy locks. With heat seekers being so prevalent in air superiority, you might think it's crazy not running the ECM jammer or the flares, but for this loadout we're going to run the extinguisher, which actually does work out pretty well. In terms of our low-tech loadout, the extinguisher fits in perfectly well, with it being a little handheld extinguisher that the pilot could use to put out engine fires, and in game it's going to save our lives when we get hit by those two heat-seeking missiles. Usually when your jet gets below that 35% damage, your vehicle will become disabled and its overall health will slowly deteriorate until your aircraft's destroyed. With the extinguisher though, you can put out those flames and return your aircraft to normal operation, and with the combination of that maintenance upgrade, it's going to mean your recovery back to full health is going to be much quicker. It's also worth mentioning that you can actually evade those heat-seeking missiles with aerial maneuvers. When you hear that you're getting locked on by an enemy, just perform some sharp turns to try and shake off the enemy's aim. But if you end up getting locked on and the missiles coming your way, you can often evade it by heading straight up vertically and then performing a U-turn and then hitting the afterburners to outrun that missile. If you are unfortunate to get hit though, it's not game over. All you have to do is hit that fire extinguisher to return your jet to normal operation, then fly below radar for a bit out of the way until your health completely regenerates. Then because this is a veteran loadout for ace dogfighters, we're not going to use any weapon upgrades like the heat seekers. The heat seekers are really the only choice we've got for air superiority. Obviously those guided missiles and rocket pods are pretty much useless, which is probably why the heat seekers are so prevalent. It's a shame they don't have that belt speed upgrade in the weapons section as opposed to the first tier. I think that would have probably made the heat seekers a little bit less popular. But for this loadout we're just going to have to leave this slot blank, not only to fit into the dogfighter theme but also to prove our skill against all the other players. So if you do want to test your skill and prove yourself against those heat seeker noobs, then give this setup a try. I actually got some pretty good games with this setup, more so than the jet fighter loadout, which did use the flares and the heat seekers. I think there's something about not having those high-tech countermeasures that makes you fly that little bit more skillfully and try and evade those missiles rather than just rely on the flares or the ECM jammer. If you do have some fun with this loadout, or if you wish that some of the other players in that air superiority mode would run cannons only, then why not hit that like button to share the video with your friends and help spread the word. Don't forget to check down in that description for the full playlist of these episodes so far. I've already posted an air-to-ground loadout as well as that previous air-to-air jet fighter loadout. Next up I've got another air-to-ground loadout which is themed on the F-117 stealth bomber, so stay tuned for that one. Otherwise, thanks for watching, I'll catch you all later.